Hi guys, what's up? Welcome to another episode. Today we're going to talk about how to apply the slide technique for double and single strokes on the drums. So it's always good to have a step in between when you learn the technique and then when you go on the kit and apply it directly. This is the moment where we actually teach to our brain how to get out of the exercise, and we start to expand and apply this technique and this motion in a way that maybe we wouldn't do if we would just improvise or just write a song with the band, because we go through a lot of different type of positioning the motions. So for example, going through all the 16 notes or finding combinations that will allow us that we wouldn't do just applying and just improvising it. So once we've learned the slide technique, all the motion and how to actually perform the slide technique, we can start working on applying it, shifting from a leg motion only to a slide technique. So we'll start with the double strokes first, and then we'll do single strokes. So it will be something like this. Okay, so we shift these two motions, and we start to understand how the leg motion with the single stroke works, meaning that there is no ankle motion involved. And then when we start to apply the slide technique, instead we have to add this stroke with our ankle. So the good thing about the slide technique is that the leg motion stays always the same, and I just add an extra tap. But the way the pedal reacts to our footwork, it's completely different when we go from a single stroke to a double stroke. So we always have to think of coming back on the board when we play the double stroke, and just let the ankle relax so that we can freely work on with the pedal, and we let the pedal work without having any tension, any pressure. There is no physical effort, there is no stress in the leg in doing this. So make sure everything is very relaxed. Then same thing we can start doing with the single strokes instead of the double strokes, always using the slide technique. So in this way. So here what happens is that we basically change the motion of the leg, meaning that when we play the bar of leg motion, the leg is just going up, down, like upstroke and downstroke regularly. Then when we shift to the slide technique, what happens is that the leg stays up, just like in the heel up motion, and we just go up and down with the foot on the board, keeping the ankle motion going. So it's like a heel up, but we just have the foot sliding on the board up and down. So on the one of the slide technique bar, we have to start with the foot on the lower part of the board, and then playing the 16th note, the second 16th note, going upward, and then going back and forth, keep doing this. So it's going to be 8 notes, and then 16 notes doing this sliding. Make sure that the pedal is free to bounce, and we're not pressing it down, but it's just that it's our body that is following the pedal and not that it's actually pressing it down and forcing it to do anything. So if you watch the beater, what happens is that the beater is very regular. I don't have any weird motion, but it will be just as if I do a normal heel up, but instead I slide the foot up and down. The benefit of this is having a little bit more power than just the heel up, and having a little bit more speed. But in my opinion, it starts to become too much physical effort to actually reach a decent speed, especially when you put it together, alternating with your left foot. So, but then everyone will find their own application to this. But so first step is to work on one leg at a time, 1 foot at a time, and start shifting 1 bar 8 notes, 1 bar double strokes, so 16 notes, but actually 30-second notes, playing just the first and the second 30-second notes. Same thing with your left foot. Then same thing, 8 notes and then 16 notes with the constant motion, so always single strokes and not double strokes. So same thing with your left foot. And the way you want to go back from the 16 notes to the leg motion, it's basically you close the, it's like playing a double stroke, closing with the leg, the weight of the leg. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, so when you go from leg motion to slide, you want to go on the lower part of the pedal to start it, and then to close it, you want to play this kind of like double strokes, so that you land in the right way to start the bars. So you start the bar of 16 notes with the slide technique already in the position they would need to have to do the slide technique, and then same thing for the leg motion. You end the slide technique part already being ready for the leg motion part. So once we worked on 1 foot at a time, we can start putting the feet alternated together, so in this way. We can put the feet together, and then the third step would be to start making things a little bit harder, and we can start doing this on the pads and adding a groove, so pretending that we're playing like hi-hat and a snare with the backbeat, and then play rudiments, whatever we want to add on top of this, and start repeating this so that we give more information to our brain while we're applying these motions, and we're not only focused to the leg and just the area that's working, but we start adding stuff on top of it and make it a little bit more challenging. So you can start with just a simple groove, so something like this. Then we can do the same thing with the alternated feet. And so on. So this is a great way of starting to add stuff on top of this. Then we can start you know, making things a little bit harder with our hands, playing rudiments like or we can start working on the slide technique, adding it to single strokes, which is very similar to than what I explained in the drag bass drum notes lesson. So starting to, for example, add the single stroke on the first 16 note, then on the second, third, fourth, and so on, keeping a regular groove, so something like this. So you can really get creative and just starting to add, you know, the double stroke with the slide technique wherever you feel comfortable and you want to expand and try this. Another good way of applying the double stroke is starting. This is a good technique to use for fills. If you want to play, for example, 2 hand strokes and 2 foot stroke, or 4 and 2. Okay, so you can start playing 1 foot, alternating single strokes, and then 1 bar alternating double strokes. So or you can use this for blast beats or alternating 1 hand and foot strokes. Okay, and so on. You can start to move this around, make things harder with your hands, move around and try to follow a path and that will bring you to put these strokes, slide technique strokes, in every 16 notes, in every situation that you wouldn't naturally or spontaneously do improvising, so that you expand your vocabulary and the usage of this technique. Then you can translate everything that you've been doing on the pads on the drum kit. So repeat whatever you were doing here on the kit, working on the sound, working on the dynamics, on controlling the spaces between the notes and all that stuff, the balance, no tensions on the leg, and so on. And try to really start to be comfortable in using this technique and make it part of your tools and the weapons that you can use playing. So have a good practice, and I'll see you next time.